Land acknowledgements are often presented in shared spaces where we gather in person. But on a podcast, we recognize that each one of us occupies space on Indigenous land. We call on you, our listeners, to acknowledge that Indigenous people are the original inhabitants and caretakers of this land and have distinctive and sovereign rights and responsibilities that are directly connected to the land, community, culture, and knowledge.
With this in mind, please take the time to find out what territory you are on at native-land.ca and support our amazing Indigenous firecrackers like Dr. Jules Koustachin, who directed and wrote the amazing movie Broken Angel. For more information, go to her website, juleskoustachin.com. Oh, hey, everyone, it's Naomi Sneegas.
And Amanda Brugel.
And this is the Blaze Sessions. Amanda, we are just killing it. We're like knocking it out of the park. 1, 2. How many things did you have on your list of things to do today?
I can't. There's
30,
20.
40.
5. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about this with our guest today, but I do want to have a little bit of you know that when people are like, oh, you're always so busy, that thing that people say.
Yeah.
You're always so busy. And yeah, like I think that you create work, you are a working actor, there's lots going on. But also there's times like I feel like I need to start posting like a picture of me watching like back-to-back episodes of like Below Deck. I think I've talked about this before on the show. But you know what I mean? Like we do have balance. Like tell me how the balance is going these days.
No
balance.
No, I don't really. No, it's something that it's true. There are, I mean, like Aiden and I will watch like crappy shows at night sometimes, but it's especially when I have my kids, it's after I'd say 10:30 when the eldest one now finally slinks to bed, and then it's bed after that. Like it is something that I talk consistently about with my therapist. I don't have that. Like I don't do the like let's sit on the couch all afternoon or like let's have a lazy Sunday. I don't. And I think that that's part of problems, particularly why I have anxiety. Like I don't have downtime. Like right before we were talking, I was texting and emailing and dealing with 100 things. And then right after that, I go pick my kids up. Like there's no, like it's minute by minute. And it's not like this, like a couple days. It's like this, it's consistently my life. I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah, I like, I know we joke about it, right? But at the same time,
no,
like,
it's legitimately a problem.
So like, where's the tipping point, right? This is what I feel is that I was talking to my friend about this, like that kind of nuts busy where it'd be like, I'd be doing a show. Like I remember doing a show with Matt. It was a New Year's Eve show. We finished the show at midnight and then we hung out and cleaned up and did all the things for the show. And then we went home, slept for 2 hours, and the next morning drove to Los Angeles because we had a show in Los Angeles we had to get to.
No.
So like that kind of nuts behavior, but there's a tipping point. I'm gonna hurt my ankle and that's gonna make me slow down. You're gonna like, do you have awareness that you need to stop?
No, I don't. My body tells me I get sick. Like I get sick a lot. I get sick and then I'm out for 2 days and then I feel guilty that I'm out for 2 days. And then I almost obsess and overcompensate for the 2 days that I stopped. It genuinely is like, I don't know if we're going to fix it in this session.
It's going to get fixed today.
Probably now.
This is
it genuinely is I would say the most consistent, and my largest problem in my life. Like we all have our day-to-day things, but mine is not being able to achieve balance or a healthy work-life balance in a way that is that makes me happy, that makes my family happy. It's genuinely probably my biggest problem.
Yeah, I getcha. What do you think that is though? Do you think it's like, you know, we've had these talks with the different folks on this show, but like the ambition, right? I feel like there's a certain level of like, I don't have enough time to do all the things that I have in my ambition.
I think so. It's ambition. It's achieving a sort of level of perfection that I know that I got from my father. It's always being like in everything executing excellence, which is a bullshit thing. It's made up. I don't know who I'm doing it for or
Yeah.
why. It's never being satisfied with standing still and sitting still in your own peace. And yeah, meditation helps. Yesterday I went for Aiden took me to a spa for my birthday. We have to go to it. And we did a hot, it's like a hot steam bath, and then you do a
I
cold
love
plunge and you
those.
do a rest
Is it
period.
the
And
body
it was the
blitz?
first time. I don't know what that is. No, it's
Oh,
called Thermea. It's in Whitby. It's
okay.
amazing.
I'll
But
go.
we have to go. But I'd love to talk to our guest about this balance,
All
because if
right.
there's anyone who knows how to give me advice, it's this
Well, I mean,
person.
this is really, it's like a little bit of a mini masterclass slash therapy session, because I feel like she might have some answers for us. So go on. Let's
I hope
get to
so.
our fantastic guest. First, here's a word from our sponsor. Hey, did you know that only 25% of the content we see on our screens is made by women? What? I know, I was surprised too. But you know who's doing something about that? Catalyst for Creators. Their mission is to work with women identifying creators and get great content made for global audiences. They invest in women and their ideas through development, financing, and packaging. And you know why they do that? Because they are dedicated to increase that 25% one project at a time. It's incredible. You can find out more about Catalyst at catalystforcreators.com, where they are open and eager to hear your ideas. So drop them a line. And now back to the show.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her.
Oh, she's she
an
almost popped in, and then
no,
she was like,
don't. Oh, she's here.
Get out of here. We're going to
Go
introduce
away.
you. We're going to introduce you. Okay.
She's an award-winning director, writer, producer, actor, showrunner. I can't. In 1999, she shifted her focus to producing, and she co-launched Big Soul Productions. You know it, becoming Canada's first Indigenous-owned and operated
Oh my
full-service
God.
film and television production company. I can't. It's just too
I
much on
know.
this
I
list. In
know. I'm so
2005,
jazzed.
well, she just then branched out independently, and she's been creating and producing and writing and directing content through her very own production company, Red Cloud Studios. In 2020, she launched the Shine Network, supporting Indigenous women in film and TV. She's been in iconic films like Empire of Dirt and Dance Me Outside, and TV shows like The Res and Cardinal and Reservation Dogs and Blackstone. She's a co-executive producer of the Inspire Awards, which recognize Indigenous professionals and youth, and she is currently the recipient of the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television 2023 Special Tribute Award. She is inspirational and generous and a
Yeah.
national treasure, and I hope she can fix my life. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Podemski.
Jennifer.
Does that make you?
Now
Yeah,
you can.
that's it. You
Now
got
you
it.
come
You
in.
got it.
Now you come
It's
in.
like if you were off
You did it.
stage, you'd be like
I
almost
was
on
like,
stage. I'm gonna.
I
Oh
was
no,
like peeking, like
Mm-hmm.
that's
behind
it.
the little red velvet
That's it.
curtain.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have
Hi.
time. It's so great to see you.
Wow, that was quite the introduction.
It's.
Thank you.
Right? Do you
You're
forget? Do you
welcome.
forget how
I
many
had to.
credits you have? Do you forget how? And does it either invigorate you or make you tired? Feel like, oh my God, I've done a lot.
Honestly, I think it just goes back to what Amanda was saying about work-life balance. Like, I think that the core of it, aside from, maybe obvious trauma responses, whatever that is on the side, I think the core of it is like the entrepreneurial spirit of being in a gig economy where you have to hustle so hard, because if you stop, you're probably going to be out of work. So it's managing the fear of not working and the fear of getting sick and the fear of not being there for your kids. Like for me, it's a management of fear. Which fear do I choose that I want to face?
Yes.
So in the bigger picture regarding the introduction of the credits and whatever, I very rarely take time to like think back and I do reflect a lot, but I don't think about like, oh, look at all the things I've done. Look at all the stuff I've achieved. It's always like, I gotta go. Cause I'm just like, I have so much to do.
Yeah. Oh my God, that resonates with me so much. I love that. I had the first, I think, I've been doing this for 25 years. So the first, I mean, I'd say 18 of them, 17 of them were me in a situation where I was desperately worried about money and I didn't want to be carried by a man. And that's not how I was raised. And I was so fearful that I wouldn't be able to take care of my kids. And so to set that state for 18 years, and I watched my mom struggle as a single mom, just so afraid that I would be that. So I think that you're right. It's just, I've never heard anyone put it that way. There's such a constant hustle in me that cannot be satiated. And no matter the amount of money or accolades or anything, I'm still at the grocery store with a baby strapped to me, scared about being able to buy milk. Like it's still, and that won't ever leave me, that fear, hustle.
Yeah.
So I like the fear management thing.
I mean, that's what I feel like it is all the time. It's the fight or flight of, it's survival. And, when we don't have the facade of a secure job, even though like that's a total facade as well. It's we're forced into, it's like kind of like if you don't paddle or stay above water, then you're going to drown. So I think that's the feeling. And there really is no balance in that. It's like what you choose to focus on, really.
There's no such thing as balance. Like there really isn't this like, oh, like my life is really balanced. It's like just when you think you're balanced and then it's like, boop, boop.
It's totally true. And I think if I can give any advice.
Oh my God, give all the advice, Jennifer.
Infinite, almost 50 years of wisdom. It would be this. I've been thinking a lot about like, how do you manage the constant feeling of like being afraid to fail and being afraid to like, not be there for your kids or not be there for yourself or your career, all of those things. I really start to manage the small tasks. And that's where I feel like the biggest wins are. It's like, oh my God, I got home in time from that, whatever audition or gig or, from the airport. I, took a shower, made dinner. My kids were here. We all sat at the table together, ate a meal, and then all like kind of cleaned up together. That short period of time makes me feel like I'm a huge success story, like in my own story.
Yeah, I like that.
The little victories.
Yeah.
Those are the little wins are really where all the big, the major work, our major spiritual work, I think, is acknowledging the little wins, because if we ignore them, then we take away that feeling, the potential of actually feeling like we're getting somewhere, that we're making progress.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you belittle it. Like we make like our failures so big and our successes so small, right?
Yeah.
Like when you book things, remember when we first started booking things and be like, we used to have champagne, like a little bottle of champagne in the fridge because get ready for celebration. Oh, we booked the thing, let's celebrate. And now it's like, okay, we booked the thing, move on. Yeah. Like we have that thing. Yes. Now it's almost just like a check mark as opposed to stopping and going, that's a little victory.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you more about the CEO and founding work that you've done with these organizations, which also blows my mind. But I need to start with talking to you about Dance Me Outside. And I'm sure you talk about it all the time, but I have to tell you, my mother used to bring up Dance Me Outside. It somehow like hit her heart. She would be like, why can't you do things like dance? My mom's passed away, so I'm a little emotional whenever I speak about it, but I don't mind because it's just love. It's just feeling the love of her. But she would be like, why can't you do something like Dance Me Outside? And like Herbie Barnes, who's a friend of mine, she'd be like, this character, like she almost had memorized the entire movie. So like it was honestly a huge part of our household, that movie. And I have two questions. One is, what was your life like when you were doing that? Because you also did it with your sister, which must have been extraordinary. But tell me about it. What was going on in your life when you're shooting that and even booking that? What was that like?
Oh my goodness. I guess I was 20 and my life was like just being an actor and having 10, side hustle jobs. This actually was very interesting because Tamara, my sister, went to a meeting with Bruce McDonald about a music video about a year before Dance Me Outside. And I thought it was super gross that this guy was taking out this young girl. So and like did not know who he was, went with her to the lunch, and I sat at a different table and he was like having a meeting with her to star in this movie Dance Me Outside. And I was just there as the protector sister.
Of course.
And anyways, he was like, you come sit with us, like, come over, you don't have to sit over there, come over. So I sat there, whatever. Anyways, he started asking me about myself, and I was like, yeah, I just finished a movie called The Diviners and this and that, blah blah blah. Anyways, then I got a call to audition for the lead of the movie.
Wow.
And felt terrible because Tamara went to the meeting. Anyways, we both auditioned, and when the agent called, we picked up the landline at the same time to hear the results, the verdict, and I was offered the lead role, and she was offered Little Margaret, and she was devastated.
Yeah.
I was devastated. I was just like, I felt so bad. I'm sure you've both been there where you're like, I'd rather just not take it just because I want to save that person's feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up getting that role. And, where I was at was as a like hardcore actor in Toronto, just trying to, with, very little hope for anything. Because unlike your mother, like my family was always like, is that a native thing you're doing again? Oh, is that a native part? That kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah. So it wasn't real to them. So there was a bit of a,
so if it was native, it wasn't real.
Yeah, a lot of shame around, and then just that I was only doing native stuff and, often losing out to non-native people. Anyways, that was
really
my life at the time. Yeah, it was still very prevalent
at
that time. So yeah, getting that film.
Dancing Outside was a huge success in our country.
Huge. It was huge.
What do you think?
Huge success.
Like, why do you think that resonated so much with us?
I think that nobody had ever seen characters like that or people like that on the screen before. We had never seen it. There just had never been anything, like that. It was like really raw and real and very rock and roll, right? It wasn't earnest. It was just raw. And it definitely resonated. Like I still, it's still the thing that people talk about. So it was very, a very important part of my journey for sure.
Yeah.
It must have been. You mentioned your sister, and she's also an artist. There are three of you, yes?
Are you the mid? Wait, are you the oldest, Jennifer?
I'm the oldest, yes.
The oldest.
Yeah. And so did you grow up in a family? I can imagine the answer is no from the just is that a native part sort of comment, but did you grow up in a family that fostered the arts, that pushed you to be artists? Like, it's really interesting that there's such at least with the siblings, there's such it's like a little collective of extraordinary artists. It's always interesting to me when sibling families, they do that in families. Like, what happened? Why did one inspire the other?
Yeah, I think if you would ask my sisters, they would say that there was some inspiration from me along the way, but really it was really the perfect storm. Like, I grew up in the 80s in Toronto when extracurricular activities at school were, paid for, and you could dance and sing and do all kinds of
Remember?
It was,
I know, remember?
A very good time.
I know. Yeah.
So I think that had a lot to do with it. I was always a performer from the beginning. I just was that kid. And I often performed with my sister Tamara, who is 4.5 years younger. But as soon as I was, as soon as we were of the age that we could create things together, that's what we did. And it was fostered. My grandmother, my dad's mom, used to take us to the ballet and a lot of plays. And I just was very much into being a performer. And it was just the life, everything kind of fell into place. It just fell into place. And I just dreamed so hard, like any other performer who, I saw E.T. and I would sit at the TV and be like, I'm going to marry you one day.
Wait, which one? The alien or the little guy?
Both.
No, the alien I thought was
Elliot, and just like watched him on Oscars or whatever awards shows and just like dreamed so hard to be, a performer. And then I actually made a post about this the other day. It was really Deb Goldblatt who brought me to her synagogue to a drama class that they did throughout the year. So it was community theater, and I got the lead role of the musical. And that was really in grade 6, I think. So I was like singing and dancing and acting as a real life thing by grade 6 or 7. And it was something I pursued pretty aggressively. I really pursued it at a young age.
And did you ever stray? Did you ever be like, maybe dental hygienist?
No.
I just can't see it.
It was really dance at the beginning. Like, I just wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be in, like, on Broadway. I just wanted to be in Fame. I wanted to be like in Fame. I wanted to dance and sing and that kind of thing. And never dental hygienist, although I might have played one.
But I might have played one on TV.
I will play a dental hygienist, but didn't ever dream of that. And the dream changes. It's like, I don't really know at the time I was thinking about, but my dream, my whole motivation changed after, a bunch of years. And it wasn't actually to sing and dance and perform, although I do love doing that. It's really to create, and, build capacity. So that sort of became my mission after being someone who just only wanted to perform.
But when did that happen? Like, when did you, because I feel like there's a lot of actors that are actors for their life. And then there's some actors that are actors and then they realize there's a shift and they need to have their voice heard. Like, when did you know that you needed to be part of the change, not only with women in our industry, but also with Indigenous people in the industry, like that was part of your job, your storytelling in this?
There were several times that happened. The first time was actually right before Dance Me Outside. I was in a movie called The Diviners, and I did like 5 auditions for that. And I had to go all the way down to Eastern Avenue. I lived in North York, and it was like, I was 17, I think. And I was just like, wanted that part so badly. And then I didn't get it. So I moved to Israel, actually. And so when I was 18, 6 months went by and they called me back. Like, I had quit the industry and I thought, like, this is not for me. I can't handle the rejection. I'm never going to be okay with this. I should think about another possible job. And I wasn't really sure what that was. But then I got the role and I went to Winnipeg and I picked up my career again. And then it kind of faded off when I was 24. I was just not really working very much. I was only auditioning for native roles. And no matter how hard my agent tried to get me seen for like regular normal characters, I just it just wasn't happening for me. So when Tamara, my sister, called me to tell me that she got the role of Maureen on Broadway in Rent,
I
was like, can I come? Because I'm quitting acting. It was really in New York when I was 24, that whole year of 24, that that I knew that I had to become someone who made things so that other Indigenous like actors or stories or narratives would expand, and I would like sacrifice my desire to be in front of the camera I just figured like I'd rather be in control of what was being made rather than constantly auditioning for the most racist, inappropriate roles that you can imagine, that perpetuated harmful narratives and that sort of thing.
I don't that fascinates me because I'm only getting to that place now I'll be 46 tomorrow, and I'm only getting to that place now where I've always felt that, but I wasn't brave. I've never been brave enough to take the reins and say, I have to make my own space or make my own work. And I too, came up in the 90s in this business, and only being offered for a good 12 years of being like hoochie mama or big ass lady or dat bitch, like those kind of roles. And I didn't, as much as I, want to be dat bitch, they got really tired after a while. And so I guess what I'm asking you is, where do you get off? Like, just at 24, not having the experience to then go and like co-launch big soul productions. Like, what's the mental shift, or what's the bravery?
I remember the exact moment. I had gone to lunch with my agent in New York. I had gotten an agent, like just got an agent in New York. And I was like, maybe I will give this a try after several months. And she like berated me for showing up in jeans. And I was sitting in the apartment, like it was such a perfect moment. It was like started snowing and it was such a beautiful New York moment. And I was like cutting out pictures of myself to make this like sheet of like Jennifer Podemski, new to this agency. She's so exciting.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, this freaking sucks. Like, this lady is yelling at me, like humiliating me about wearing jeans to a meeting.
Yeah.
Like, who is she? What am I doing in this business? This is the shittiest business I've ever met. And I threw that stuff out. I just gathered everything up and I threw it out. And I was like, I think I'm going to become a producer. I don't know what a producer is, but I think I'm going to become a producer, because
Wow.
that's what those are the people that change things. And it was in that moment I remember praying so hard that I was just going to be a producer and I'm going to be in control, and I don't want to be a part of, I don't want to be the victim anymore. I want to be the change. And then, like, after that, once you pray hard enough and really manifest those visions, the universe sort of opens up. And that's when literally, like, I got called to host the National Aboriginal Achievement Awards, which is now the Inspire Awards, where I met Laura Milliken, who was the associate producer, and we had a chat. She's like, do you ever think of like being a producer? I was like, I do, actually. I'm literally thinking about it right now. And so we, on a whim, just like decided to start a company with almost our experience in the industry. Like, she was an associate producer and I had been an actor for this long. I'd also written and directed by that point. And we basically created a business card, and that was the beginning of Big Soul Productions. And we created our identity, and I understood the value of creating a myth and creating a narrative without it existing before, right? And that's what we do as people who create things and create characters and entrepreneurs. Like, anyone who's an actor is an entrepreneur. Like, we run our companies, we manage our companies, and we hustle every day to bring in income to those companies. So we just started with a business card, and like, literally the rest is history. And actually, the interesting thing about it, what ended up bringing me back to Toronto, was an offer to be in a show called Riverdale. And I said yes to it because I actually didn't really want to leave New York, but I decided, okay, I'll take this job. Came back to Toronto, and that's when I reconnected with Laura and said, I'm in Toronto again, and if you want to have coffee, blah blah blah. And on Riverdale, I met Melissa DeMarco, who, if you remember, in the 1990s had a show on late night TV on like City something, and I knew of it. So we played best friends, and I said, I just opened a production company. I'm gonna make shows. Could you sit with me at lunch and like tell me how to do it? And then she just gave me all her time. And like, I created a whole format for a show based on everything she told me. Then I would sit with Linda Schuyler, at the owner of Epitome Pictures and executive producer of
Linda Schuyler. Wow.
And asked her, like, how do I make a show? And then I got Brian Dennis on board as a mentor, who did the res and Dance Me Outside, and he taught me how to make a show. So I just really kept asking for help, and we built shows like that.
Well, tell me some of the lessons, like, as a new producer, that you were like, I didn't know this was going to happen as a producer. Like, what were some? I mean, you probably learned a lesson every half hour, but what was some of the bigger ones?
Oh, the bigger ones? Oh my goodness. Oh God. It's very scary. It's just very scary. You never think about how terrifying it is to be responsible for people putting, food on the table for their family, while also being responsible for their well-being. But also, it's terrifying knowing that the money you took out, you borrowed from the bank to make this project, every single person you bring on board in some way has to protect that loan. And you're always watching people and like behaviors, and it's just, there's so much on the line, and it's so scary. And the other thing I realized was that a lot of producing is babysitting. Sorry, there's
Sorry. Yeah. Or people management, like
So.
grown up babysitting is like people management.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. You know, I learn things every day. I do. It is a hard job. It's not always a fun
No.
job. But
It's
like,
not.
for the most part, I like it.
It's crazy. So we're jumping ahead now because I know you're art show running, or you just finished show running Little Birds. Yes. Um, so how then do you go from acting and then creating a production company, creating the business card first, and then assembling this, this band of mentors that sort of teach you, and then how do you then foray into show running while still doing everything else? Like these are jobs that people spend decades learning how to fine tune,
Yeah.
and the fact that you do all of them to me is just, it's like we're testing you. We're not. I'm just trying to understand like
No, but I
how.
think like the multiple plate spinners, like we are all doing that.
How?
I don't know very many people that are like, I'm just an actor. It's like I'm an
Yeah.
actor,
No,
writer,
I
director.
know,
But how do you
but
manage that?
not to the level of success that, like, people
That's
say
right.
that. Yes, they say
No,
that, but
yeah,
not to
yeah.
this level of success. So it's fascinating to me how you've set an intention, say you're going to do it, and then you do it and you pull it off. Because there's a lot of actors out there that are writers. And that's mean, but they're writers. So I just want to know, like, how or what was the decision then into show running and the pivot into that? Was it sort of similar to producing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I feel like the title of showrunner is very much what I started doing from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
because at the very beginning,
Yes, it's everyone.
Big Soul, I would write shows, I would create them and write them. And I had a certain expertise in terms of like having so much experience in the industry. So I would direct a lot of the stuff. So I was, writing, creating, producing, directing all of the content because A, we couldn't afford anybody else. And B, it was kind of the point of opening a production company so that I could create content.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
much everything that I have done, if I'm to go back and like rename my title or my credit, I would think that if there was a showrunner back then that's what I would have been. A showrunner who also happens to own the company that is making the content. So
Right.
the shift for me was really show running something I didn't own. That was the first time
Mm-hmm.
I've done that.
And
Everything
was
that
this the first time with Hannah? Was this the first time you've done that?
yeah.
And so what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It is, I was very reluctant to, even join the team, knowing that I only really make what I create, and I usually own what I make. So there was always this idea
Right.
that I own it. And for me, ownership is important because it's, when we talk about Indigenous Black experiences for sure in this sector, we have to make a lot more space for ownership, because ownership is agency. Ownership is
Mm-hmm.
like bank loans. Ownership
Yeah.
is like a
Yes.
way to reclaim space. And
Yeah.
it's like how women were experiencing the ownership thing 10-20 years ago, where the company was owned by a man. I think we're at that
Mm-hmm.
critical space time now where I want to see more Indigenous production companies. And
Right.
the only way you can be successful is if you own content that sells. So,
Yeah.
building that has taken a long time. And it's just not, it just felt like a step backwards for me. But then when I thought about it, more, and I was like, I guess I could do this. I could open the door to being a showrunner, who doesn't own things, a showrunner for hire, but still create the thing. Like I was with that from the ground up from 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And, so there's little difference, probably a lot less stress for me, even though it was very, very stressful, but also having to manage the corporation and all of those things
Right.
that happen to own something, that was not on my plate. So that actually was pretty great. That was pretty great.
Right. At the end of the day, you're kind of going home away from the project. You're not also dealing with the people around the
Bye.
project.
Yeah, for the most part,
Yeah.
it's like it's I think there's positives and negatives. The reason ownership is important to me, aside from the reasons I explained, is that there's a certain sort of creative agency that is uncompromised when you own something.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you put yourself down a notch, even though, yes, as the showrunner, it's, my show, my vision, I get the final say and blah, 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 like all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, the owners can say, this is not, we don't like this, you're fired, or we don't like this,
Yeah.
So it is there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
I do like,
Mm-hmm.
I do like making things, and I like, creating processes or endeavoring to create processes that work in a different way, maybe a little bit counter to the conventional way of how the industry operates.
Like what? In what
Can you
capacity?
ask?
I think there are some really complicated and complex realities around the intersection of Indigenous knowledge and sort of lived experiences and the screen sector. So, it's very normal for us as filmmakers in documentary, even while you're researching a drama series, it's very normal to go to a group of people and say, hey guys, can you tell me about what it's like, living on the street? Or can you tell me about what it's like being a doctor? That sort of extractive, consultative process that we as storytellers rely on. When you're dealing or working with Indigenous stories and experiences, that could be anything from, anything to do from residential school to the 60 Scoop, which like, political or policy based things that are pretty much embedded in every story: child welfare, racism, the disproportionate numbers of and outcomes in all areas and all sectors, education, justice, all of those things. So at some point, the collective knowledge and the lived experience, it's like, it's not ownable. You don't get to sign your rights away. So there's a lot of new work that has to be done with intellectual property and collective knowledge and collective rights per community, and based on individual experience. You can't just go into a community and get a story.
Yeah.
And do you see positive movement in that new work that needs to be done? Do you see?
I do see positive movement for sure. Like definitely the beginning stages and baby steps. But it opens up like a wider conversation about like, why are we so extractive? Like, why do we not take more care when asking people about their stories? Like, how are we so, like, in the film industry, I often liken it to growing up in Toronto. Like when you grow up in Toronto, as you both know, right? Kind of have this chip on your shoulder about everywhere else. And it's just like, it's a Toronto centric kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm from Toronto, and like, oh, you suck. That kind of basic attitude.
Coolest. Yeah.
I feel like the film industry has that same sort of attitude and is always like, oh, we're in the film industry. Like, it's okay if we behave this way or do this thing, if we treat people like this, right? We're in the film industry. We're in the entertainment business. We're this is going to go to festivals, and so it's okay if I behave in a certain way, or that sort of thing. So in that same way, I think we have to be more gentle and more Indigenous perspective, culturally informed and culturally aware, and practice cultural humility, but also from the human perspective, generally be more kind and be more inclusive, right? And understand that you might be going into, with a singular vision to get a specific story or find a character, but we don't often think about who that person is that we're talking to, and if they're going to experience trauma from the thing that you're just talking about. And
yes,
there are very few mechanisms in place to protect anyone in this industry, We have harassment codes and things like that, but those are also still at the very stages, because we all take them and we all see them be violated all the time. So
yeah, it feels like we're a little bit like we're going through an awkward growing like puberty phase right now. Like when people are like, they know they're supposed to talk to, like if you're writing a story about a community you don't know about, it's your job as an artist to speak to those people. So you're not trying to represent from a place of make-believe, but from a place of kindness and curiosity. But I still think there's this weird place where people go, like, as you said, like, can you tell me your story? And I don't actually have the tools to listen to them. Do you know what I mean? Like there's sort of this weird, like it's like seeing people who write a story about somebody who is a trans person, but they don't have that education. So how are we going to find it? And actually, and also, as you said, like challenging somebody that might have gone through trauma and are going to have to go through trauma again to tell that story. So I don't know, there's a huge shift of responsibility of the artist that I think is imperative, but I think it's huge.
And
I think it
sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it will come down to it just being in these stages of adolescence. I think it will come down to a lot of people, unfortunately, that are not unfortunately, but a lot of younger people eventually growing into positions of power that have grown up with a different mindset. It's going to be hard, I think, for at least a lot of people who still hold, like the gateholders, the office folk, the people who are in positions of power, or at least are the ones who hold the purse strings. It's going to be very hard to change a mindset that has been ingrained since the beginning of this business. And I don't know if a crash course from IATSE or the DGC is going to catch everyone up from the work that even our generation has really been trying to do. And so I'm hopeful, but I do think we're going to be in this adolescent stage for quite some time until the guard changes out.
Oh, our voice is going to be cracking. It's going to be super awkward. What were you going to say, Jennifer?
I was going to say something else, but now you got me thinking about a totally other thing, which I think is important, is that I loved this business from the beginning because of the way a group of people come together to like uplift a story.
Yeah.
And if I, my tolerance for not seeing that is waning. I don't like when it feels like no one gives a shit and I'm a part of something. I have really no desire to be there, regardless of how, how many promises I have of where it's going to go. I really like to work with good teams and good people, and, also recognizing too, as a producer, when people aren't feeling safe on your own shows, that you have to recognize that. So I might be, the, let's say, victim or the person in one situation, and the person in another situation who is actually committing something, who is the protagonist in someone's story. Without it's not intentional, but sometimes, this business moves so fast, and it's always, regardless of how nice you want to be and how kind, it's about the bottom line, because someone's got, a bank loan to repay, and someone has a project to deliver so that, everyone can get paid. There are like a variety of factors that are in contradiction with being good people who uplift stories.
Did you find there was a shift in responsibility? Because I feel like you came from a time when you were one of the people that were overseeing, the voice of an Indigenous community. But now there seems like there's more allies, there's more policing that's going on from everybody. Like I get called on my mistakes all the time, which I'm happy for, but it's not just from the community, which that I might be like not offending, but misrepresenting. Do you feel like there's a shift in that responsibility?
I think there is a little bit of a shift. I think there's just many more people who are like available, Indigenous people, storytellers, producers, who are available to stand with each other against sort of the larger beast of misrepresentation and, culturally I guess, culturally incorrect narratives. There's just more of us.
Mhm.
But it's still a big, that's why I started the Shine Network, because even 2 years ago, during 2020, I was like pretty devastated from a project that involved, a person who was, I would say,
Yes.
committing anti-Indigenous racism
Mm.
against me. And I went to look for help. Like, I went to look for, like, who do I talk to? And they're aside from the ISO, which is the Indigenous Screen Office. And, I called Jesse Wenty, like everybody did up until, up until recently, because he's not there anymore, but there was just nowhere to go. So I wanted to fill that void and create something that people knew that they could at least call me, and that I was a safe person to
Oh,
talk to
Jennifer.
times of, tragedy or trouble or, questions. And it really has proven to be it can't be me all the time. I'd like to be in a situation where there's like a whole bunch of people and mentors. And in our 2.5 short years of the Shine Network Institute, we've really come to a place where I recognize that it's an important organization, and I want to invest as much time as possible into it because of what it stands for. And it stands for,
Mm-hmm.
it stands for community and Indigenous wellness, and just a space
Mm-hmm.
where we can, hopefully strengthen a person's experience in this industry.
Yeah.
When you first created it, when you first introduced it, did you find that you had a wealth of people wanting to come to your aid and help, and like that were, I don't want to say your level, but had your experience, who were able to articulate themselves and also were able to give energy, or was it a while until you built a community?
Well, it's funny, because at the same time that I was imagining opening this and like taking the first steps to open it, uh, George Floyd was murdered. And anyone who is in the communities that were directly impacted, specifically, I would say the Black community, but it ripple affected into the Indigenous community in a way that was very unexpected.
Mm.
And it was
Yeah.
a really interesting time, because I did a launch of the Shine Network. This had happened, and then everybody was calling me to be on a panel. And I recognize now that
Really?
every other BIPOC organization and everyone who was doing like anything was getting called by everyone to be on a
Mm.
panel. Suddenly, everyone wanted to do panels. Suddenly, everybody wanted to talk about, the movement that took
Mhm.
place after that incident. And there was a massive cultural shift. And what it did was it shone a
Yes.
light on, I would say specifically Black and Indigenous people in America and Canada, to the point where there weren't enough people to speak, to attend these panels. So they're obviously just, they're calling the first person that they Google, and it's like, oh, the Shine Network, Jennifer Podemski, literally did every panel. And I was seeing people, I was like, oh yeah, you're from BIPOC. Oh yeah, you're from. So it was a little bit humorous in terms of like what it showed me, and a lot of other people, was the desperate appetite for learning, but
Yeah.
also the
Mm.
reality that, we're still box tickers, we're still diversity quotas, we're still, that is a sad, unfortunate reality. And again, that's probably why I hustle so much, because I'm really trying to work my way out of the box ticking category and be just like everybody else.
Yeah. But it's going to take some
Yes.
time. Like, I do
Yes.
feel like even the shift of like recognizing, like in the old days in comedy, when all women would play like secretaries, prostitutes, or nurses. And then that shift was like, wait a second, it's a doctor that's a woman. So like that took a while, and it's going to take a while before we treat this. I do feel like it's growing pain stuff when I see like a new show that it's all a bunch of white dudes, and I'm like, you got to do better. That muscle hasn't been exercised enough. So I don't know. I think we're learning, but it's not. I mean, I'm impatient. I can imagine you both are or wildly more impatient.
I mean, that's exactly why I started doing this, because I was so impatient. And I was just like, this is never gonna happen unless I kind of take control of this, like to do it for myself and everybody else who's being excluded.
Yeah.
So that's,
I can I can imagine for you, because we came up at the same time as well. I remember when I first started getting asked to go to panels, the question that I dreaded was always like, who are you inspired by? Like who did you look up to that was in your community, like when you first started doing this? And I was like, what biracial woman in Canada that no one, no one. I'm lucky that I was
You're
getting the
inspired
parts
by
that I was
yourself.
getting. But at the time, you don't know it. At the time, you're not cognizant of it. At the time, you're just trying to make whatever the fuck work. And again, buy milk for your baby that's strapped to your chest. And so it's just really fascinating to me that you, from the beginning, it seems like you had about 5 minutes of patience for it, and then you were like, no, I'm gonna go out and do this on my own, which I admire so much, so much.
I often regret it, but
well, I got a burning question for you, actually, Jennifer, about the regrets, because you're an artist first, right? You're not a business person first, but you became a business person because of the need to perform more, to be an artist more. So I need to know how you structure your day so that you're not finding yourself in business mode constantly, but you're still nurturing the artist within you.
Oh God.
I know it's hard. I mean, I struggle with this. I need this is Ask Jennifer 101.
The really hard part, and now, like today, I have way more support and people like that work with me,
right,
to help alleviate the load. But the hardest part, I think, is finding time to do the creative part. Like how do I shows? I have to write them.
Yeah.
How do I find the days and days and days that I need to write when I'm so busy delivering content and managing teams and overseeing projects and, all of the producer stuff and all of the company stuff? That's really where I struggle. So I'm seeking a way to find more time to write and create.
Any answers? Like, do you have any somebody told me once to like structure your day so that you get because I can easily fill my day with producey stuff. It's easy peasy. What's hard is like the vulnerable, risky stuff, which is the creative stuff. So sitting down and writing and pouring your heart out is things that I want to do, but it sure is harder than writing emails to people.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like I get inspired by people who are super organized with their day, but I'm not that person. Like I'm just not that person.
Me neither.
Like there's certain things that are like mostly fixed, which is making breakfast for my kids and lunches, and then hopefully being around when they come home so that we can have some time together. In between, it's like, how am I going to tackle this load? And I just start and I do it. And it depends where, if I go, like I booked a small role on something to play my sister's sister. And I took it because it was like, I get to spend time with my sister and I get to, do a little, I like working in small roles because I love learning like what's happening on set. I love being up to date with everyone who's in the business, who's who I want to hire one day, just different processes. I love watching directors work, and I just love learning, because the acting part in the smaller roles is typically like not heavy and not difficult.
Oh yeah. And you get to watch.
So it's more like, oh, I get to like study here. So when I go away and do that was in Vancouver, I lose like 3 days from the other stuff. And then I just feel like I'm trying to find time. And then there's like all the wellness stuff, like the perimenopause stuff is like a whole new level of like,
girl,
how's that sitting with you?
It's sitting right on top of my face. smothering me.
I was so hoping you would have like a real easy, like ABC answer. This is how this is. And I'd be just like, I'm just going to be like a Podemski. But,
No.
but the
Challenging.
menopause offers a whole other layer of like emotional, physical, brain challenge of lines and things like that.
Yeah. I was actually on a podcast yesterday talking about that, and I was just saying, like, it's just when you feel like you got to that point in your life where you're like, the point that you work towards as a woman,
Right.
you have this idea like, oh, when my kids are gonna be fine and I'm gonna be 50 and it's gonna be amazing, I have this company and da 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 da, and you don't factor in menopause to that, and then you get to that point, you're like, no, you gotta be kidding me.
And it comes up, at least I'm usually, thank God no one else, it was someone else who brought it up, because I usually bring it up every week when we do this, because it's something that I really struggled with, because at least for me, the sheer lack of information out there, because it's obviously just a problem for people who are women. And there's no research, there's no money in it. There's at least right now, there's no money in doing research on it, because like, we're women, we'll deal with it. We deal with everything. It hit me like a ton of bricks, and it's day to day that I still am like, this is my prime. This is the part I'm not worried about milk money anymore. I have a house. My kids are alive. God damn it. I want 3-4 years where
I know
shit doesn't start falling off. And yeah, it's infuriating.
Wait, shit's falling off, Amanda? I feel like that's a doctor
starts falling off.
No, if things are actually falling off, you need to call the doctor on that one.
No, but when does it end? And then when this finally does end, because sometimes it lasts 25 years, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for being here. This is the Blaze.
All a way to end it off. Yeah.
But thank you for acknowledging it. I think it's very.
But maybe like the more we talk about it too, right? Like, as women in this industry, and so when you're on set and you're working with an actor that's in perimenopause or full on menopause, and they're like, I'm having a moment, that it's not like, we can actually talk about it. It's not this hidden secret. What's happening? Oh, she's experiencing the change. Like, it's not even like spoken about. So maybe there's like a little bit more of an awareness and a responsibility that we can all have for it.
Yeah.
That's something I will say that I've noticed that's changed much quicker. I've noticed that's changed much quicker on sets than anything else, but like anything else about even casting. I've noticed on set just conversations between women and not being ashamed to talk about just being really open in regards to menopause or body image, or it's been lovely. And that's been a huge, quick, fast, dirty change. And I'm into it.
Yeah, me too. Here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're about to turn 50. Well, I'm watching all your Instagram posts about like all your moments. And I think it's so, like, again, it's just discussion, right? It's awareness and our connection to say it out loud, to connect with other folks. And it's not this unspoken territory.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. Well, we do this thing.
Each other. Sorry.
Oh, say it again, Jennifer.
It's a good commitment to each other to
to
hold space for those conversations.
Yeah. And also even like the discussions that we're having today, like even about like, you know, the hats that we wear as producer, director, writers, actors, like if we can talk about our process a little bit more, then it's not this like, you know, like, I don't know, for a while, like I see producers and I'm like, they've got it all together. I just think producers because I feel like they're gatekeepers. So they've got it all together. And then the more you talk to them, they're like, no, this is really challenging for me too. Or, you know, casting directors have the same discussion of like, do you know how hard it is to be a casting director? So again, I think these discussions just help make it less unicorn-like.
Yeah. Demystify all of the.
That's a better word. Unicorn-like, I think, is poor.
No, I love it. Jennifer, we could talk to you forever, but we do have to let you go at some point to continue on with your 79 jobs. We do, however, do this cute little thing. We ask you 10 really quick questions. Whatever pops in your mind, please answer it. If you get anything wrong, we just hang up. And that's it.
And here's the secret. Spoiler alert, you can't get anything wrong. Number 1, what's your least favorite word?
Oh my gosh. Can't.
I love it.
Oh, like it. Who would you love to work with, dead or alive?
Oprah.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's mine.
Oh, that's a good one. 3 words to describe your life right now.
Crazy, sexy, cool.
I love it.
Ooh, I like that.
You're good at this.
You're nailing these. One thing that turns you on creatively.
Teamwork.
Yes.
Collaboration.
Yes.
Collaboration.
Totally. What is something that turns you on creatively?
Collaboration.
Oh, I just said that.
Sorry. I just had a stroke. What is one thing that made you feel What's one thing that makes you feel powerful?
Finishing my to-do list.
Can that be done? Oh,
I
had a
that.
part 2 for that question, but
short to-do list.
Yeah.
Short.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. One thing that turns you on creatively. I'm just joking. I'm being myself now. How do you think people see you?
Best answer would be very differently than I see myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. What is one song that moves you?
Anything by Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Forgive Me.
The worst. Ooh, yes. I just listened to that the other day. Love that song. Sorry. Worst job you've ever had. It doesn't have to be business related, just worst gig.
I was the 3rd wardrobe assistant on a show called Blue Hawk, and it was terrible. It was the worst job ever. I think I did 20-hour days on that show.
Because you also do wardrobe.
Oh.
Well, that was when I was like 8, 9, 20, 22 maybe. Yeah, it was the worst job ever.
Other than your kids, your family, of course, your loved ones, what is something that you would give it all up for?
To not have menopause.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
That's great. I would do that too. Okay, and last one, your best advice that you've ever gotten and worst advice.
The best advice I ever got was, if everything you wished for came true tomorrow, would you be ready? I love that.
Yes, I love that.
I love that. The worst advice is it is like people that say it is what it is, like to just it is what it is.
Right.
Like I don't react well to that. I like to be proactive and to tackle things.
Yeah, I love it.
Me too.
We're going to wrap it up with our final thing, which is shining a light on other women or non-binary artists and sort of raising their profile a little bit. We've had some time to think about it because we knew it was coming up. Amanda, do you have one?
Yes, I do. Danny Kind.
Yes.
Danny Kind is an actress on Working Moms, and she sort of did the same thing where she just decided one day that she, wants, not one day, but she just decided, I want to be a director and I have enough hours in this business and I want to claim it and make it mine, and did, and is successfully doing it. And just, I'm really impressed with that kind of just claiming your space and taking it, not just talking about it. So Danny Kind.
Mine
Naomi,
is,
you?
Yeah, Camille Baudouin. Do you know Camille? She runs this organization out in Edmonton called GIFT, Girls in Film and Television. And she's just hustles for it. Like, she just saw a need for having younger women being supported in this industry to be writers. And so she has this organization, GIFT, where she teaches kids how to make their own shows. And it's just a really, I just really admire that kind of commitment to definitely like a need that's out there. So Camille Baudouin is mine. How about you, Jennifer?
Do you have anyone come to mind?
To shine a light on someone who I really admire would be Shirley Chichu. She's not emerging, but she runs a film school in Manitoulin Island, and she's, one of the first Indigenous actors and directors. And I shine a light on her because she taught me about creative integrity when she bought the rights back to her movie, her first feature film. $1 million to buy them back because she thought that the people who owned it were ruining her movie. And I watched her do that, and I just was so inspired by that and will always be inspired by her. She's just such a shit disturber and cares about community. So Shirley Chichu.
Love it.
God.
Love it.
Love
This
it.
has been so great. Jennifer, thank you so much. I know, as I said, you're so nuts busy, but it really, these kind of discussions just are so good for me anyway. We should have recorded it, but we will next
time.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, guys later.
Yeah, be well.
All right. Bye. You didn't record it, did you? No,
it's just a joke that
halfway through, I
forever.
just pressed. I really didn't. I pressed stop halfway through. I was like, this is nonsense. This isn't very good. I'm not learning anything.
Said nobody ever in the Blaze sessions.
That being said, what did you learn today?
Yeah, I think just making work, right? Like Jennifer from 20, right? She was in New York at 2024, and just seeing that there's a need to produce and not waiting for somebody else to make things happen. I mean, I've always believed that, but she does it on such a higher level that it's a beautiful community leadership as well. I think she's pretty extraordinary.
It's just this one's my favorite one. I shouldn't say that. I can't say that.
I think you actually say that a lot. You've said that for a couple, so it's okay.
But I was just so inspired afterwards. It's just, goodness sakes, I learned so much. Just so grounded and determined and intentional with her energy and her words. And I just admire that. Anyways, what I learned was that today, after I go pick up my kids and none of them are dead, and I make them dinner and we sit down together, that I'm going to celebrate and pat myself on the back. Celebrating the little wins and acknowledging the little wins will help you get to a place, where you're not putting too much focus on the career wins or the ones that are seemingly large, but also just trains yourself to celebrate the life wins, which will then help you be more creative. Loved it.
Yeah. I think that's really good. All right.
What are you looking at?
I was just well, I mean, one of the light bulbs is out, to be honest, but I looked up and then I was like, these discussions they really move me. And I also love how different each one is. Like speaking to Jennifer, I feel like she's like, I'm like, blah, 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 and Jennifer just makes me go, boom. Let's just speak about real life in a real way.
That's what I meant. Energetically, and she speaks with such intention that it then
you can't help but jump on that train, right?
Me. Can't help it. Train's moving, and you jump on it.
All right.
You're
writing a t-shirt every time. Congratulations. Okay, go pick up your kids. Tell me one thing that this afternoon, this evening, that you're like excited about besides hanging out with your kids.
My kids. We're going to go grocery shopping. That's pretty exciting. Oh, Jude doesn't have soccer tonight.
Nice. So what's going to be? It's not Friday.
One less thing. They get to choose, which is very exciting. I'm very, very excited for them. There's other stuff that I have to write and legal stuff and stuff like that. I'm not excited about that. But the fact that we can have a longer dinner together as a family, maybe baths, maybe shopping, like Phoenix needs pants. You don't need to know any of this. I'm just excited to have an hour.
Like my choice, it's my call, like dealer's choice. I want to go shopping for pants. Is that what he does?
He'll want to go shopping for something, but I'll squeeze in pants because he needs pants. But he'll want to do something. This weekend we're doing it where one day is Jude's choice, one day is Phoenix's, because Aiden and I, as you know, leave next week and we go away for a while. So this weekend it's the kids plan the weekend. So
amazing.
Amazing.
I love it. I love putting the kids in charge.
So do I. Yeah. So do I. I want you to have a wonderful night. Have a good weekend. Much. You're probably going to see a show.
I am. I'm going to go see some comedy tonight. I want to see what's going on in Toronto's comedy scene.
I'm going to see comedy in Chicago, and I'm very excited.
Hey, we have to talk about your time in Chicago, because maybe I could find you some Second City tickets.
Yeah.
Ow. I love it. I love it.
Well, congratulations.
Report back on what you see oh my God, I did it again, Amanda. I so enjoyed chatting with you. And then I forget all about the wrap up. Hey, everyone. I mean, we're having a good time. I hope you are too. Go over to firecrackerdepartment.com and on all the platforms at Firecracker DEPT, #TheBlaze Sessions. And tell us what you think. Give us a little review. Share this. If this conversation made you think about somebody like, oh, that reminds me of so, go and share it with them. And that'll reverberate into the community and share these amazing stories. And don't forget, we're on YouTube now. So if you're hearing this, you can also see this. And if you're seeing us, you can also just hear us. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I love you, Amanda Brugel.
I love you, Naomi Sneakers. Bye.
The Blaze Session is hosted and produced by myself, Naomi Sneakers, and Amanda Brugel. Jennifer Morose is our consulting producer and cheerleader extraordinaire. Pal Carranza is our communications manager and content creator, with support from Chelsea McKenzie and Morgan Walker. Original graphics by Vicky Breyer-Breer and Becca Buddygag. Anna Moroden is our firecracker of all trades, with doing our YouTube artistic management, our newsletter, and also content creation. Jennifer Rowley is our amazing sound designer and basically editing wizard. Rebecca Gismani does our show notes and additional writing. Sedna Fiati does our outreach and consultation management. Shrishti Jaiswal is our video editor. Music by Sophia Canali and Arthur Kaplan. Big thanks to the entire Firecracker Department Actioneer team that keep this community going. That's Veronica Martin, Anita McFarlane, Pau Carranza, and Liesl Lafferty. For more information about the Blaze Sessions or the programs, workshops, panels that are offered through the Firecracker Department, go to firecrackerdepartment.com and follow us at Firecracker DEPT on all your platforms. If you enjoyed our episode today, leave a comment or maybe something one of our guests said really sparked some inspiration. We'll share this episode with a friend. And if you didn't like the episode, you know what? Just keep it to yourself. No one likes a complainer. Now go on out there, take some creative action, and then share it with the Firecracker Department community. We'd love to hear what you're working on. Bye for now.
Hi, this is Veronica Martin, Head of Firecracker Mentorship. Thanks for listening to the Blaze Sessions.